President Cyril Ramaphosa's appearance at the state capture inquiry has dominated TV, radio and newspaper headlines in the country. 24 Hours news channels have dedicated most of their broadcast hours to the commission. But how has it been covered internationally, and how does coverage of Africa influence the perception of the continent? Thembisa Fakure from the Africa-Asia Dialogue works on creating greater understanding between the two continents, and he joins us now from Johannesburg. Thembisa, very good morning to you. The last time I spoke to you, we were both working for Al Jazeera, so it's good to be speaking to you on home soil. Talking of Al Jazeera, it seems that they were the only ones that really went big on the commission. What's missing here? Is there a bit of corruption fatigue when it comes to South Africa?
Well, notwithstanding that it was a busy day yesterday, as you know, most international media were waiting for the Biden address to the Congress, so many of them were preparing for that. India continues to have serious challenges when it comes to COVID-19. You have also Brazil. The United States was waiting for Biden, and Brazil yesterday was also having a busy day. But they did manage to fit in Cyril's appearance on the commission. It was not as long and as extended as expected, but they did manage. Most African networks did also manage to include him in the list of reports yesterday, particularly those who have access to the DSTV.
How important do you think this commission is to other African countries, what they're seeing happening today, the fact that we've got a president there and that these sort of questions can be asked?
I think what he said in his opening statement, when he said that before he went to the commission in Braamfontein, he had a chat with one of the African leaders, and the African leader, whoever it was, asked him if, how can you be appearing as a head of state at a commission? That tells you what is the perception in Africa. Most African countries are looking up to South Africa as an example in terms of accountability, particularly by the politicians and other leaders within our community. So it is closely watched by many African countries, and I think it sends a good message to an extent that no one is above the law, and all those that are entrusted with the responsibilities of leading the nation must account to the people, and that's what he did yesterday. Whether he did a good job or not for South Africans, we will have to wait and see after the two coming days.
Okay, while you're talking, we've just seen the president. He is walking in now for his second day. We expect his testimony to kick off in the next couple of minutes or so, and we'll be broadcasting that live. So let me just ask you, Thembisa, yesterday he addressed the cadre system. And I know that you talk about it quite often, the fact that many countries have this type of system. It just seems that we're not doing it too well over here.
Well, none of the countries are doing too well, but he did try to explain that if a political party has got an agenda, they have no choice in most instances but to deploy their own comrades or cadres into important and strategic positions. But we are now aware, and we know that that process or that way of doing things has not been successful, not only in South Africa, but in other parts of the world. In the Middle East, where I spend most time, it has not been successful. Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday admitted that he was the chairperson of the deployment committee under Jacob Zuma. In fact, I'm not quite sure whether many people noticed, but he basically admitted that it was his fault that we have this mess that we are currently facing in South Africa, because it was under his tenure as the chairperson of the deployment committee that we had so many people put in positions that were not fit for purpose, quote unquote.
Okay, let's leave the cadre system and also talk about the sort of image that South Africa is projecting at the moment and how it would be digested from the continent's point of view and internationally. I mean, what we're seeing now is, one of the oldest movements in Africa in turmoil. And the president clearly trying to tackle this and heal those divisions. How's that been viewed?
a double-edged sword, isn't it? One is trying to basically absolve himself from previous responsibility, but at the same time exposing the shortcomings of the ruling ANC. I'm not quite sure whether that will help the ANC in the next coming local elections. But internationally, it's important, at least to other African countries, that leaders or leaders charged with such responsibilities must account. And it's also, I think, to an extent, empowering to those leaders in other countries who intend implementing certain reforms within their political parties, particularly that of cadre deployment, that is not the most effective way of moving countries forward, particularly developing countries. So Cyril, that's what Cyril has said yesterday. And I think the message is clear that the cadre deployment needs to be revisited, not only in South Africa, but in other countries, particularly in other African countries where the norm continues to dominate political appointments.
Tembisa, very good to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. Tembisa Fakuda, we're looking at the president there just before he starts his testimony at the state capture inquiry.